If you've ever been caught off guard by broken tracking in Google Analytics, I think you're going to find this video helpful. In it, I share a process for using Google Analytics custom insights to keep an eye on issues and then present them in a Looker Studio dashboard. I like custom insights a lot for their ability to monitor specific metrics and whether they go up or down, but I find keeping an eye on them kind of tedious. So I built this process that captures them in a Google Sheet and then reports on them in a Looker Studio dashboard, which makes it much easier to keep track of things and take quick action when something goes wrong. I shared a link in the description to a blog post that has detailed steps for this process and also shares code that I'm going to be talking about in the video. So check that out and let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is set up an alert. So if you go to the home screen of your GA4 property and you scroll down to the bottom, you see this View All Insights. And then if you go to Manage, and then you go to Create, this is where you're going to create your insight alerts. And I'm going to pick, let's see, entrances as an example. I'm going to say decrease more than 25%. And I'm going to do the comparison period will be the same day last week. Now, the other thing is that the script looks for a specific syntax in the insight name so that it can pull out the frequency and the metric that's being monitored. So let's go to the Google Sheet and I'll show you how to create that syntax. So we go to the demo sheet and we click this Insight Name Builder tab. Then you can go, first I have to make a copy of the sheet because this is the template. I don't have edit access in this account. So I'm going to make a copy. Okay, now click here and I'm going to say 2 Octobers. And the metric, actually I want, entrances, I do want that, but I'm gonna get rid of that organic. Daily is correct, and I'll say 25% decrease. Okay, so then it creates the correct syntax. You see these sort of pipe separated words. So I'm gonna copy that. I'm gonna go back to analytics. I'm going to pop this in as the insight name. And then the other really important thing is that it's going to send email notifications to this email address. And the email address has to be the same email address as you are logged into the sheet when you run scripts. So there's a cool thing about Google Apps Script that if you're running the script under a certain address, it has access to your email inbox. So that's really important. So we're going to go ahead and create that. And we're done here. Like I say, that's really just an example of how to create those. And in the post, I actually linked to another post that goes into some more details about different types of alerts and things you can do. So then let's go ahead and get the Google Sheet configured. To do that, we're going to open the copy and we're going to go to extensions in Google Apps Script. And there's a couple of things that we need to do. So first of all, this from the template, it has the ID of my template sheet, not the copy of the template sheet. So I have to grab this long business right here in the URL, which is the sheet ID. And I'm going to copy that. I'm going to replace this. Then the other thing is, if your alerts come in a language other than English, you need to figure out like what word comes in the subject line of the alert so that you know it's an alert. So the script is designed to parse out if the subject line has new insight in it, which is what it is in English. So you may need to change that. Then the next thing we need to do is go to the check for insights script, and I'm going to run this. And I do this so that I authenticate the script. Basically, I'm telling Google Apps Script that I'm giving it permissions to do the things that it needs to do. Now I'm going to click this advanced here. This language is a little bit scary. And I'm going to click this go to demo GA Insights. And I'm going to say continue. And then I'm going to select all. And then I'm going to continue. And if this makes you nervous, in the blog post, I do give the option of copying the script into a sheet you create, which you'll get fewer of those warnings. Okay, so now it's run the script. And one thing I'll just warn you is I have experienced where I have to actually go through that process twice to get it to work. So if you run into it and you have to do it twice, don't worry about it. That just seems to happen sometimes. So now let's go and look at the sheet. So if we go to this Insights tab, so this is a template and I put in a bunch of sort of fake insights in here. I think I'm going to go ahead and leave them in here because it's going to make the demonstration of the Looker Studio dashboard better. But now you can see down here are the alerts that came in. Pretty cool, right? And that business of formatting the headline correctly or the subject line, you can see where it pulled out the metric and the frequency of the metric, which is kind of nice. Okay, so now we've got the sheet going. There's one more thing that we need, well, maybe a couple of things that we need to do. One is we need to add a trigger. So I'm going to go to triggers here. And the point of the trigger is to have the script automatically run every day. So the function that it wants to run is this triggered check for insights, and that's actually correct. A weird thing about AppScript and triggers is if it takes an argument, it's not going to pass the correct argument when you run it from a trigger. So you need to create a version of the function that doesn't have an argument. Don't worry about it too much. You're going to want to run this triggered check for insights. And then where the event source, you want to change that to time driven. And then we're going to do a day timer. And then you can just pick some time to run it. I'm going to say 2 to 3 a.m. And I'm going to save that. And let's see, it may make me authenticate again. Okay, I got to go through this business and go here, and I'm going to say allow. Okay, now there's my trigger, so that's going to run every day. And then the other thing I just wanted to show you is if you have alerts going back, you can run this days to, well, there's a function in here, backfill insights, and the default is it'll go back 90 days and check for insights from the last 90 days. So if you have insights for a little while when you run the script, the regular check for insights function just will check yesterday, so that you want to run that backfill insights. And don't worry about running it more than once. The script will deduplicate if it had already grabbed the same alert from the same date. So I don't need to run that right now. I got all the insights that were in there. So we'll call this done. And now let's have a look at the Looker Studio template. So we're going to grab the template from the blog post. If you scroll down to the dashboard here, so we have this, here's the template dashboard. I'm going to open that. And so here's the template. You can see, so this pulls in those sort of dummy alerts. And I'm going to go and click these 3 dots and I'm going to make a copy. And I want to create a new data source from the sheet that I just created. So I'm going to click this drop down. And if you go down, look down at the bottom, you have this option to create a data source. So that's what you want to do because you want to connect now to your Google Sheet. And one warning, if you haven't used Looker Studio before, it's going to make you fill out a form that just basically says, I don't know, something about who you are or something that you have to fill it out to use Looker Studio. So I'm going to click this, and here's my copy of the GA Insights Fetcher. Sometimes notice that if you just created a spreadsheet, it's not going to show up right away, so you may need to wait a little bit. So Insights, that's correct. I'm going to click Connect. And then up here, I want to add this to the report, and then I want to click Copy the report. Now, it's pulling in my sample data. You'll notice this date range actually doesn't, well, I'm recording this on June 1st, and I set this default date range in the template just because I created that dummy data, and the dummy data, that's the date range. that I created the dummy data in. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the default date range here. So I click on this control and then I go over here and I can change this default, and I'm going to change it to the last 30 days. And I'm going to apply that. And interestingly, so it actually goes up through yesterday, and those alerts were from today. So I can click this if I want to see those too. And I'm going to click June 1st, and I'm going to apply. And then you see these are the alerts that I just created. So what I can do from the dashboard, this is pretty cool. Maybe we'll switch to view mode here, is I can click on this, and this is going to filter for those alerts. And then what I can do is I can just click on this link and it actually opens the alert in Google Analytics. So you can imagine, like, if you're monitoring multiple properties, it's so handy to be able to just click on those and it just takes you right in there and you can investigate. And I don't know, I just really like that. So let's see. I did in the blog post, I explained how to make this a little prettier. So this is just the link to the alert, and in the blog post I describe how to create a calculated field that, I don't know, just has a text saying it's going to open link to GA. That's about it. So you know, pretty cool. You can click and filter around and see by the dates and everything. And there's this big gap because of when my sample data was. That is it. So if you enjoyed this, please click the like button and subscribe for more videos. And check out 2octobers.com. We have more content on our website about GA and Looker Studio and other aspects of analytics. And if you need help with training, with setup, with auditing, with BigQuery, we love doing all that stuff. So give us a ring. Thanks so much for watching.